Hello, I'm Peter Towers, Managing Director of ESS BIZTOOLS and ESS Small Business. Welcome to the Crowdsource Funding Equity Raising Briefing videos, and this is video number 7. What should shareholders, company directors, senior managers know about crowdsource funding equity raising? A key question is, what's in it for the company in undertaking crowdsource funding equity raising? Well, the company can raise up to $5 million in a 12-month period, obviously if the market supports the company's proposal. And then if the company wishes to raise more money, and again, as long as the market supports the company, you could raise a further $5 million in the following year, and so on. There's no limit to the amount that can be raised. So it's not a loan. Therefore, there's no loan application required. There's no need to go and talk to your bank. There's no requirement to pledge assets that the company already owns, or that a shareholder or a director owns, or that perhaps a relative like your mother-in-law owns. There's no personal guarantees required. And therefore, there's no monthly repayments of principal and interest to be paid to the bank or to the lender. All that the company has to do is to issue ordinary shares to the investors. Issue share certificates and then keep the shareholders informed, probably by quarterly reports. And hopefully you'll be able to trade the company at a profit, pay tax and declare dividends. So what do you want to achieve for your company? Do you like the concept of being able to scale the company up and grow it into being a larger corporation than what it is today? Whether the turnover's a few $100,000, a couple of $1 million or $5 million, what do you want to happen in your business? But if you are going to try to scale up or grow your business, you will require an injection of cash, because growing businesses require cash. Growing businesses tend to have further investments in things like inventory, finished stock, debtors, work in progress. It all costs money, because unfortunately you need to buy stock and no one is paying you cash for your invoices. Perhaps you want to expand your business, acquire another business, implement a big, audacious idea, which might sound very big and audacious at present, but if you had an injection of capital, would it work? Could you present the vision to potential investors? Maybe you need to overcome a succession problem. The founder would like to retire, but there's not enough cash in the business to be able to pay out his loan accounts. Perhaps the injection of cash from a group of new shareholders could enable the succession to occur. Maybe you want to repay loans or implement a commercialization process because the company has developed a new product, process or service, but you're not eligible for the early stage innovation company, but you still need to raise capital to be able to achieve that. Perhaps you're applying for an accelerating commercialization grant, and the new capital that you're proposing to raise through crowdsource funding, equity raising, could in fact be the matching amount that you need to match the government grant for a program like accelerating commercialization. These are some of the reasons why you might be interested in looking very closely at crowdsource funding equity raising as it affects your business. So what's the downside? And unfortunately, people do ask me what the downside is. You'll need 2 directors. A crowdsource funding equity raising company must have 2 directors. My recommendation would be that you probably end up with 3 or 4 directors, because you really need some independent directors who've got business experience to sit on your board. You could end up with hundreds of additional shareholders, but don't let that put you off, because the vast majority of those additional shareholders will have a very small percentage ownership in your company. The maximum that a retail investor can contribute to a company in a 12-month period is $10,000. The company's constitution, I think, should be changed so that the document is updated rather than being updated by resolutions that are minutes that are typed and then affixed to the current constitution. It's far better to update it. And you also need to appreciate that the current group of shareholders will not own 100% in the ongoing company. You can't maintain control, such as 100% or a group of people having 100%, and attract new investors at the same time. If you want to do that, you're going to have to stay with borrowing money. And that can be difficult and very costly. What the crowdsource funding equity raising process is all about is creating wealth for the investors in that company. Because there are 4 key things to creating a business. There's the business concept, the intellectual property, the knowledge. There's the implementation of everything to do with the business, marketing, sales, manufacturing. There's the people who work in the business at all levels. Directors, managers, office staff, factory staff, salespeople. They're a very important unit. And the final group is cash, because businesses need cash to be able to survive and grow. So this is part of wealth creation. You need to understand the process. Crowdsource funding equity raising brings this terminology intermediary into play. If you're going to go down this path, you need to understand the intermediary's role, responsibility, and powers, because they do have some power, because they're the final adjudicator as to whether your crowdsource funding offer document meets the legal requirements. You're going to need an accountant to assist you in the development of the crowdsource funding offer document. And if your accountant is too busy doing income tax returns or other work and doesn't want to get involved in this process, please contact me and I will introduce you to an accountant who is a subscriber of ours somewhere in Australia that can undertake the work for you. So none of this is crowdfunding. Please don't confuse crowdsource funding equity raising with crowdfunding. All share applications must be processed on the intermediary's website. This is deliberate black letter law in the legislation. The government were paranoid about all investors must go onto the intermediary's website and acknowledge that they have read and understood the investment warning. And that's why all transactions must be processed by the individual concerned on the intermediary's website. The maximum investment, as I mentioned before, for a retail investor is $10,000 in a 12-month period. And it is retail investors who the government really had in mind when this legislation was put in place. Because for many years, retail investors have missed out on the opportunity of investing in some of the new emerging companies in Australia, because it was really only available for sophisticated investors, wholesale investors, people who were in business angel groups, or people who were doing through venture capital funds. Crowdsource funding equity raising is open to all types of investors, but including retail investors. It's also important that you understand that there is a 5 business day cooling off period for retail investors after they've signed the application for share document and after they have paid their money across to the intermediary. They can still ask for their money back within 5 business days if they change their mind. So where can you get more information on crowdsource funding equity raising? Our associated business, ESS Small Business, has some free material, but it also has some packages that you can subscribe to, which will give you an in-depth overview of how crowdsource funding equity raising operates. You can view that material by going to the Learn More at www.esssmallbusiness.com.au. Crowdsource funding, learn more. If you require any further information on how crowdsource funding equity raising operates for the benefit of businesses, companies, please don't hesitate to contact me. Send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au. Good luck with this total consideration of your business's financing needs. And I'm sure that many of you will come to the conclusion that crowdsource funding equity raising is a very exciting opportunity for a significant number of small and medium-sized enterprises in Australia. Have a great day. Goodbye.